In this week's edition of Tutorial Tuesday, I'll be demonstrating how I flatten, cut out, and file my piece to make it a wall hanging or ornament. As you can see, the chasing has left my piece sunken in and concaved. The first step to making it flat is hammering the edges that were turned down flat. Next, I like to slap the piece down on a flat, solid surface like an anvil. This may be all that's needed if the metal is annealed or stress relieved after chasing. Since this piece wasn't and is still work hardened, I'll be using a dead blow mallet to coax it a little further. When hammering, I make sure not to hit the relief. I hammer the metal past where I want it to end up, knowing it will rebound. After I make it convex and proud, I hammer on the flat surface again. Then once from the back and again from the front. This process is more about feel and seeing how the metal reacts than any set process. Again, if the piece would have been heated and annealed, this would have been much easier, but the piece would also be softer and easier to damage. My main goal here is to flatten inside the relief as I'll be cutting out around the rope. The next step I take is cutting out around the rope with a Beverly shear. Beverly shears are amazing tools that are basically large bench-mounted tin snips that allow very precise cuts around curves. When using the shear, I make sure not to damage the relief. I also make sure to keep the surface in the middle of the blades. If I cut to the end of the blade, it will cause a crease where the blade ends. The next step I take is to cut out a tab with a jeweler saw. I also went over the textured part of the tab with a large square planisher over the anvil. This removed the texture and left a flat, smooth surface. When using a jeweler saw, be sure to wax the blade before use, and when sawing, let the saw do the work. Don't push it. Try to rotate your piece around the corners, keeping the saw straight. The next step is to drill a hole. I make sure to mark my piece with a center punch before drilling. Then I start filing to even the tab. Once I'm happy with the tab, I'll start filing around the rope, cleaning up the rough cut of the shear. After this, I'll lightly sand the edge that was filed with 220 grit and then pickle. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Tutorial Tuesday. I hope you've enjoyed. Tune in next week as I'll patina and seal this piece in the final episode of this series.